Alright, Neets, this is a video I'm making. It's what to do with your Mindies. I notice a lot of Neets just tend to take, like 4 or 6 Mindies, like some reckon 8 because the box says you can do 8 a day. And they do it at the same time. It's not really good for you, it's actually quite bad. So I'm going to show you how to prepare your Mindies without getting liver damage. You'll need a few things. Obviously you'll need Mindies. You'll need glass, a rubber band, and coffee filters. There's 2 kinds you can get. This is where they sell it near me. There's the 4 to 6 cups. They're not too thick, but they drain pretty quickly. That's good if you're only doing a small amount of Mindies, but if you do a lot, I wouldn't recommend it because they don't get all the paracetamol, and the end result will be a little cloudy. What I do recommend is get yourself some 12 to 14 cups. They're the bigger ones. They cost about $2 or $3 at like Woolies or Coles, and they trap a lot of the nasty stuff in there. They're very good, but they can be a bit of a pain in the ass to use. Thirdly, you can get one of these. They're a pill crusher. You can get them from pharmacies or order online, and they basically can crush the Mindies up into a powder form. So they're quite easy to dissolve. As you can see there, and they sort of, and they save a lot of time. Otherwise, you have to like grind them up, maybe in one of those spice grinders, or I don't know, find another way. And yeah, that's basically what you need. Now to do it, I have to use my fucking phone here, which is like a big pain in the ass. We're going to do 5 Mindies. So what we do is we break them up into 2 pieces, like that. And we put 3 in at a time. So it's 1, 2, 3. And we put the thing on like that, and that will crush them up pretty good. If you have to use, your old hammer grinder or whatever you're using, that can be like a bit tiresome, but it'll be okay. Okay, so I've grinded it all up, and it looks like a very nice powder. You can have it a bit chunky, it's not too much of an issue, but the next step is to get yourself some fairly hottish water, it's hot, but it's not boiling. So you want to add some of this to the mix. You can use as much water as you want, it'll just take longer, but don't use too little. Like, that's probably a good amount. I'm not sure how much I used, it was probably like half a cup. Then we stir it. If you haven't crushed them up correctly, as much as I have, this stage can break it all down, and sort of aid in the process of dissolving it, because you want it to properly dissolve in the water, so when you start cooling it down it can separate more easily rather than just be in chunks. So we stir it for a bit. It's all good. If it's grinded up, this process is so much quicker. So that looks pretty good. So the next step is we are going to put it into the freezer and leave it in there for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes depending on how cold your fridge actually is, and try and get it until it's like, cold as a beer at the pub, like pretty darn cold but not freezing, because you don't want it to freeze. So we'll do that now. Alright, Nate, so our Mindy solution is nice and cold. As you can sort of see, there's a sort of a white gloop hanging out the bottom. So that means it's already, that's the paracetamol, the gloop, so it's already separating. So what we're going to do is we're going to stir it a bit, just to mix it all back together again. And we are going to get a sort of a container with a beaker on it, because when you do the pouring, it can actually end up going everywhere and like ruin it. So we'll put it into the beaker. Make sure it's all in there, and that's all good. So the next step we're going to do is we'll get our glass, we'll get our elastic band, and we get 2 coffee filters and we wet them. Get them nice and wet. And on one of them, fold the bottom up like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this one into that one. So I have to put the camera down for a second because it's kind of difficult doing it one-handed. Alright, so what I've done is I've put the 2 filters together, one and the other. I should mention it's probably best to do that while it's dry, get them in each other and then wet them because it can be a bit of a hassle. So what I've done now is I've inserted it into the glass and I've secured it with a rubber band. Now you have to be very delicate when you do that because these kinds of coffee filters, they can break a bit easy, and they can, once you start pouring your solution in, they can just drip out the other end, which is kind of shit. So we'll stir our solution again, and we will pour it into there like so. Just a little bit at a time, just to fill it up. There we go. And we can see it draining. Now, if you're using a lot of Mindies and you don't want to spend too long on it, you can actually get multiple glasses, and that will actually speed up the process, so you can do multiple ones at the same time, which can speed it up considerably, as long as you do it right. And don't worry if like little bits of whatever get in it, because they'll just get filtered out. Because if you use a lot, like if I was using 10 in one glass, the filter can get clogged up, and that can take a very long time. So we can see it dripping away. That's kind of a healthy drip. If it's like just pouring out, then that means that there's a rip in there and you need to start over, refilter it again. So yeah, don't try to put too much in there because it can break it, but it's double filtered. The end result should be a clear sort of liquid. If I was using the other coffee filters, the ones I showed you before, like they filter faster, but they don't filter as good. So I prefer these ones. Neat, so I've finished pouring all the liquid through. Stop dripping. And this is what we're left with. So this is the nasty stuff. And underneath, we have the liquid. It's a tad bit cloudy, but it's pretty clear. One trick you can do is if you're not too sure, like if it's all like, if you've got most of it out, you can actually put it in the freezer and cool it down a bit and then check the bottom of it to see if any more is, gathered at the bottom. So what we can do here is we can take the filter and we can give it a light squeeze. Very light squeeze, because if you squeeze it too hard, it will break and that shit will fall back into it. But you don't have to really squeeze it. And that's it. That's all done. We have the paracetamol. So we've got a fair bit out. And remember, there's also things like filler in it as well that can come out as well, but that's definitely, the bulk of the paracetamol that's come out. So it's fairly safe to drink, because that can wind up in your liver and it's not good for you. So it's easy to do, it's worth doing, and if you want to ruin your liver, do it with alcohol, not Mindies.